The bazaar of Jaipur was alive that evening. Lanterns swung gently above the crowded lanes, their golden light spilling over stalls of spices, silks, and jewelry. The air was thick with the scent of cardamom tea and marigold garlands. Oriv moved through the crowd with the sharp focus of a man who had no time for distractions. He was a lawyer, trained to see facts, not fantasies. Yet fate has a way of slipping through even the most guarded hearts. It happened in a heartbeat. Across the lane, Mira bent over a canvas, her brush dancing in quick strokes as she painted the chaos of the bazaar. Her dupatta fluttered in the evening breeze, and when she looked up, her eyes met Oriv's. 30 seconds. That was all it took. In those 30 seconds, Oriv felt something shift inside him, a pull stronger than logic, stronger than reason. Mira's gaze was not shy, it was steady, curious, almost as if she recognized him from a dream she had long forgotten. The crowd pressed between them, voices rising, vendors shouting, but neither looked away. Oriv's pulse quickened. Mira's lips curved into the faintest smile, a secret only he seemed to understand. And then, she was gone. The crowd swallowed her, the canvas abandoned, the brush still wet with paint. Oriv pushed forward, searching, but the bazaar was a maze of faces and shadows. He caught only a glimpse of her dupatta disappearing around a corner. Was it chance? Was it destiny? Or was it something more dangerous? Oriv stood frozen, the noise of the bazaar fading into silence around him. He didn't know her name, her story, or why his heart raced like it had never raced before. All he knew was this: in 30 seconds, his life had changed forever. As Oriv turned to leave, a folded piece of paper slipped into his hand from an unseen stranger. On it, written in hurried ink, were the words, "She is not who you think she is." The folded paper burned in Oriv's pocket as he walked through the narrow lanes of Jaipur. "She is not who you think she is." The words echoed louder than the bazaar's noise. Who had slipped it into his hand? And why? Days passed, but the memory of Mira's eyes refused to fade. Oriv, usually consumed by his cases, found himself distracted, replaying those 30 seconds over and over. He told himself it was foolish, yet destiny has a way of mocking logic. One evening, fate struck again. Oriv was invited to an art exhibition at a heritage Haveli. The walls glowed with lanterns, and the air carried the faint scent of sandalwood. As he wandered through the gallery, his steps froze. There she was, Mira, her brush moving across a canvas, painting the same bazaar where they had first met. Their eyes met once more. This time, she didn't vanish. "You found me," she said softly, her voice carrying both warmth and mystery. "I wasn't looking," Oriv replied, though his heart betrayed him. They spoke of art, of law, of Jaipur's old streets. Mira's laughter was like music, but Oriv noticed something beneath it. A shadow, a hesitation, as if every word was carefully chosen. When Oriv asked about her family, her smile faltered. "Some stories are better left untold," she whispered, turning back to her canvas. But Oriv was a lawyer. Secrets were puzzles, and puzzles demanded answers. As the evening ended, Oriv overheard two men whispering near the courtyard. "She's the tycoon's daughter," one said. "The same man facing fraud charges," the other replied. A chill ran through Oriv. The case he was preparing, the empire he was fighting in court, was hers. Mira was not just a painter. She was the daughter of the man he had sworn to bring down. Oriv stepped out into the night, his mind torn between love and duty. Behind him, Mira watched silently, her eyes glistening, not with joy, but with fear. The city of Jaipur seemed to conspire with them. Its temples, gardens, and crowded trains became secret stages for a love that had no permission to exist. Oriv and Mira met in whispers and shadows. In the temple courtyard, they stood side by side, pretending to admire the carvings while their hands brushed lightly, sending sparks through their veins. On the train, they sat across from each other, acting like strangers, yet their eyes spoke volumes no one else could hear. Every stolen moment was a rebellion. Every glance was a promise. But Oriv's conscience was restless. He was a lawyer sworn to fight corruption, and Mira's father was the man at the center of his case. Could love survive when truth itself was the enemy? One evening, under the fading light of the amber fort, Mira confessed her fear. "My father will never allow this," she whispered. "If he discovers us, he will destroy you." Oriv took her hand, steady and firm. Then let him try. For a moment, courage drowned out fear. But destiny was not done weaving its web. Later that night, as Oriv returned home, He found an envelope slipped under his door. Inside was a single sheet of paper, written in hurried ink. If you love her, leave her. Her family's secrets will destroy you both. The words chilled him. Who was watching them? Who knew of their meetings? Oriv looked out into the dark street, but it was empty. Somewhere in the shadows, unseen eyes were watching, waiting. The warning letters had unsettled Oriv, but his instincts as a lawyer pushed him deeper into the case. He spent long nights poring over documents, tracing financial trails, and uncovering hidden accounts. Each discovery pointed to one truth. Mira's father was orchestrating a fraud of staggering scale. Yet every time Oriv met Mira, her presence softened his resolve. She spoke of art, of dreams, of freedom, but never of her family. Her silence was beginning to feel heavier than words. One evening, Oriv confronted her beneath the shadow of Hawa Mahal. Mira, he said, his voice low but firm, I know your father is involved. And I think you know it too. Her eyes widened, the brush of guilt flickering across her face. She turned away, clutching her dupatta as if it could shield her from the truth. I didn't want you to find out like this, she whispered. Yes, I know. I've always known. The admission struck Oriv like a blade. Betrayal mingled with love, twisting inside him. Why didn't you tell me? He demanded. Mira's voice trembled. Because if I spoke, I would lose everything. My family, my home. And maybe you. Oriv's heart battled his mind. He wanted to hold her, to believe her, but the lawyer in him screamed that silence was complicity. As they stood in the moonlit street, a black car slowed nearby. The tinted window rolled down just enough for a voice to hiss. Stay away from her, Oriv. This is your last warning. The car sped off, leaving dust and dread in its wake. Oriv looked at Mira, torn between love and justice. But in her eyes, he saw something that chilled him more than the threat, fear not of losing him, but of what her own family might do next. Mira's world was collapsing in silence. Every time she met Oriv, her heart soared, but the shadow of her father loomed larger. The tycoon was a man feared in Jaipur, his empire built on power, intimidation, and secrets buried deep. One evening, Mira stood in her father's study, the air heavy with cigar smoke and the ticking of a grandfather clock. You've been distracted, her father said, his voice sharp. I hear whispers. A lawyer named Oriv. Is it true? Mira froze. Her father's eyes were piercing, his tone more accusation than question. He is nothing to you, he continued. If you value this family, you will end it. Mira's lips trembled, but she said nothing. Silence was her only shield. Meanwhile, Oriv wrestled with his conscience. His case against Mira's father was tightening, evidence piling up like stones in a wall. Yet every document he signed felt like a betrayal of Mira. He loved her, but justice demanded sacrifice. Their next meeting was in the quiet garden of Jal Mahal, the palace floating on water. Mira's eyes glistened with unshed tears. My father knows, she whispered. He will not stop until you're gone. Oriv held her hands, steady but desperate. Then let him come. I won't leave you. But destiny was already moving its pieces. That night, as Oriv walked home, a black SUV screeched to a halt beside him. Two men stepped out, their faces hidden in the shadows. One pressed a note into his chest before disappearing into the night. The note read, This is your final warning. Stay away from her, or you won't live to see the trial. Oriv clenched the paper, his heart pounding. He knew now that love was no longer just forbidden. It was dangerous. The threats had grown louder, more dangerous. Oriv could no longer ignore them. Each letter, each shadow in the street, each car that slowed near his home, it was clear Mira's father would stop at nothing. For the first time, Oriv began to pull away. He stopped answering Mira's calls, avoided the places they used to meet, and buried himself in case files. He told himself it was for her safety, but the silence tore at his heart. Mira felt the distance like a knife. She painted furiously, her canvases filled with storms and broken colors. She knew Oriv was slipping away, not because he wanted to, but because the world around them was too dangerous. One night, she appeared at his door, her eyes red from crying. Why are you doing this? She demanded. Is love so weak that you can abandon it when threatened? Oriv's voice was heavy. It's not weakness, Mira. It's survival. If I stay, they'll destroy us both. Her silence stretched, then broke into a whisper. Then I will choose for us. The next morning, Oriv woke to find her gone. No calls, no letters, no trace. Her studio was empty, her canvases vanished. It was as if Mira had been erased from the city. Days turned into weeks. Oriv fought his case in court, but his heart was hollow. He wondered if she had chosen her family, if she had betrayed him after all. Then, on the eve of the trial, a message arrived at his office. No sender, no signature, just a single line written in Mira's hand. Trust me. Tomorrow, everything changes. Oriv stared at the note, his pulse racing. Had Mira betrayed him, or was she about to save him? The courtroom was packed, its air heavy with tension. Reporters scribbled furiously, lawyers whispered strategies, and the judge's gavel echoed like thunder. Oriv sat at the plaintiff's table, his files neatly stacked, but his heart was anything but steady. This was the trial that could define his career. The fraud case against Mira's father was monumental. Millions stolen, lives ruined. Yet Oriv's thoughts were not on the evidence. They were on Mira. She had vanished, leaving only a cryptic note. Trust me. Tomorrow, everything changes. As the proceedings began, Oriv presented his arguments with precision. He spoke of hidden accounts, shell companies, and forged documents. The defense countered with arrogance, dismissing his claims as speculation. The judge listened, impassive. Then, just as the defense prepared to call its witnesses, the doors of the courtroom swung open. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Mira stepped inside. Her presence was electric. Dressed simply, her dupatta draped gracefully, she walked with quiet determination. Oriv's breath caught. She had returned, but why here? Why now? The defense lawyer sneered. Your Honor, this woman has no relevance to the case. But Mira's voice rang clear. I do. I am the daughter of the accused, and I am here to testify. The courtroom erupted in whispers. Oriv's pulse raced. Was she here to protect her father, or to destroy him? The judge silenced the room with a gavel strike. Proceed. Mira took the witness stand, her hands trembling but her eyes locked on Oriv. I have evidence, she said, her voice steady. Evidence my father never thought I would reveal. She handed over a folder, documents, recordings, proof of the fraud. Oriv's eyes widened. This was the missing piece, the evidence he had searched for in vain. As Mira spoke, her father rose from his seat, his face twisted with fury. You dare betray me, he roared, his voice shaking the courtroom. The judge banged the gavel, but the storm had only just begun. The courtroom was silent, every eye fixed on Mira. Her father's fury filled the air like a storm, but she stood tall, her voice steady. My father built his empire on lies, she declared. I have seen the documents, the hidden accounts, the bribes. I stayed silent for too long, but silence is no longer an option. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Oriv's heart pounded. This was the moment he had dreamed of, yet feared. Mira was risking everything. Her family, her safety, her future. She handed over recordings, conversations between her father and his associates, proof of forged signatures, evidence of money siphoned into offshore accounts. The judge examined the files, his expression grave. The defense tried to discredit her. She is a bitter daughter, seeking revenge, they sneered. But Mira's eyes never wavered. I am not here for revenge. I am here for truth. Her father slammed his fist on the table. You are no daughter of mine, he roared. Guards restrained him as the courtroom descended into chaos. Oriv rose, his voice cutting through the noise. Your Honor, this testimony completes the chain of evidence. The fraud is undeniable. The judge struck the gavel. Silence fell once more. After reviewing the testimony and the evidence presented, he said, this court finds the accused guilty of fraud and corruption. The verdict echoed like thunder. Reporters rushed to capture the moment. Lawyers whispered in disbelief, and Mira sat trembling, her hands clasped tightly together. Oriv looked at her, his chest heavy with pride and sorrow. She had saved him, saved the case, but at what cost? As the guards led her father away, Mira turned to Oriv. This isn't the end, she whispered. There are secrets even deeper than this, and they're coming for us. The trial was over, but the echoes of its verdict lingered in every corner of Jaipur. Mira's father was behind bars, his empire crumbling, his allies scattering like frightened birds. Yet victory did not feel like triumph. For Mira, the cost was unbearable. Her family had turned their backs on her. Relatives whispered her name with venom, calling her a traitor. The home she had grown up in was no longer hers. She walked through the city with courage, but inside, she carried wounds no one could see. Oriv, too, was changed. He had won the case, but the victory left him hollow. He had seen the darkness of power, the fragility of truth, and the price of justice. His innocence, the belief that law alone could protect love, was gone. Yet in each other, they found strength. Their love, born in 30 seconds, had survived betrayal, threats, and courtroom storms. They clung to it like a lifeline, believing it could heal what the world had broken. But destiny was not finished with them. One evening, as Oriv prepared to leave his office, a letter awaited him on his desk. No name, no sender, just a single line written in bold ink. The fraud was only the beginning. The real conspiracy lies deeper. Oriv's hands trembled as he read it. He looked at Mira, who stood beside him, her eyes wide with fear. "What does it mean?" she whispered. Oriv folded the letter slowly, his jaw tightening. "It means we are not done. Someone else is watching, and they're coming for us." Outside the office window, a shadow lingered in the street, watching, waiting. The city of Jaipur was quieter now. The trial had ended, the empire had fallen, and the storm had passed, but the scars remained. Mira walked beside Oriv through the old streets, her dupatta brushing against his hand, her eyes carrying both sorrow and hope. They had lost much. Mira's family no longer spoke her name, and Oriv's faith in justice had been shaken. Yet in each other, they had found something stronger than loss, a love that had survived betrayal, danger, and truth. One evening, under the starlit sky near Nahaga Fort, Oriv stopped. He looked at Mira, his voice steady but tender. "Do you remember the bazaar?" he asked. 30 seconds. That's all it took. Mira smiled faintly, her eyes glistening. "And yet, it feels like forever." He took her hand, pulling her close. "Forever begins now," he whispered. The stars above seemed to shimmer brighter, as if the universe itself bore witness to their vow. Their journey had been marked by shadows, but now, standing together, they were ready to face whatever came next. Because love, once born in 30 seconds, had proven strong enough to last a lifetime. In the silence of the night, Oriv and Mira walked forward, not toward certainty, but toward courage. And sometimes, courage is all love needs to become forever. Subscribe to Echoes of Passion for more.